think we should be all right there. Should be live in a second. And that looks good too. Let me go ahead and pop out the chat. Boom. That's all good. And we got a stream, baby. All right, so I should be streaming through the original OBS now, so whatever issues I was having with my audio in the past should be taken care of, hopefully. If you guys have any issues hearing the game audio or anything else, if you're watching the VOD after this airs, feel free to drop a comment. If you're in the stream, then you can go ahead and let me know what you hear from there. I don't think I really need this too much. Let me try dropping that. I have a gate. There we go. All right, hopefully that makes everything sound pretty good going forward. All right, I still got a lot of junk that I need to kind of clean out here. Did manage to get my hands on the new Outlander before the stream started. She is over here. Very similar stats to Ragnarok. She's not quite at the same level. She's gonna have lower health and more shields, which is about what I expect, since she plays much more as a ranged character than anything else. But she also has some really interesting bonuses. She gives a movement speed increase to ninjas while they're in shadow stance, and also she adds critical rating for pistols, which should increase the damage that they deal, or increase the chance of them dealing crits, which is really nice, because that was like the one perk that was really missing from pistols. Okay. Yeah, it looks like they're still pretty much building bases the same way as it was before. This is not going to work too well here. I don't really feel like failing this. Alright, so I know there's a chance that we can get attacked here. Okay. Don't really have all of the traps that I want to get built here yet. All right, let's get started with those. We want to leave this side open just in case anything happens to run up here. Okay. Nuts and bolts are not too tough to get. Or you just mean the amount that I have. Yeah, I've had a ton of nuts and bolts ever since I started playing Outlander. That is what they look like. This should be okay to start. Yeah, back when nuts and bolts were like super important, I got quite a bit of them. And because of that, now I have like a stupidly large amount of them. Okay, so we can do this too. I think that should be fine. We don't really want to push anybody over here, although it may make them walk around again, so let's give it a shot.
Now that right there will cause some trouble.
Okay. We'll keep all of this low as long as we don't run into any explosive enemies. We really should be okay. I mean, if he just wants to throw traps up, go for it. Okay. That should be more than enough to actually deal with whatever's coming through here. This area is not built up at all, but this area is actually really, really easy to defend if you do it right. Actually gonna do some of this. This should guarantee everybody comes to the center and you really have nothing to worry about. Just in case you want to use the stairs. Put just an electric wall over there. That should work okay. I want to do one of these. No, let's keep this side closed. Open this one. Never mind. I do want to be able to move around, and this is going to be like one of the most important points to do that on. We can drop another one of these then. Wait, what? I did not mean to do that at all. But since we are here and doing this, still need to spend most of these. Okay. That's going to be fine to start. We can't build the rest of what can go down there until after this actually begins. Then we basically do something similar for anything that walks around. There is the possibility later on of things actually coming around here, depending on how you build up this area. So we're going to leave this open. Okay, so that's good for anything that actually tries to get through here. He's still super under. Yeah, he's super under level for this. Okay. Okay, for the most part, I'm okay with this.
Oh, great! You brought a friend! You can grant building and harvesting permissions to visitors using the Stormshield console menu.
I have found that these lava pods don't seem to damage your buildings. They will damage you though, so you want to be careful if they happen to be bursting. I think the husks get damaged by them too, which is also a nice benefit.
Come on, man. I'm gonna dust you up and then work you on a dance floor. Here goes.
This area, most of this actually winds up getting destroyed if they spawn propane back there, so it's a good idea to leave this alone for now.
Storm's not gonna like that, but I don't care.
Can't.
Probably talking about these. Oh crap, did he really use found traps? It's not a good idea to use found traps to defend your base at this high difficulty.
Double kill.
Okay, this... Wait, there's nothing over here?
Ain't happening.
Wish I could.
Wait, I completely did that backwards. I must be tired.
Yo,
There we go.
Street 82 at the Roxy. Here we go. All right, up rock. Let's see what you got, kid. No can do.
Just gotta have to wait for him to push the button. This area gets a little bit crazy later, once you're past like SSD 2. I'm not upset with 58 legendary tier 2 traps. I guess he got rid of most of his other stuff though. Okay, not bad. Oh no, no he didn't. Did we cover all directions? I think we got this one. That one's got something really basic to start. And yeah, this is okay. Alright, so we should be good. Oh, I didn't go pick that up yet. Should probably do that. Unless he picked it up again. Okay. Then I have to make another one.
Here we go! Shield power increasing. Prepare for an attack from the west.
The one thing I hate about Stormshield Defenses is that they technically always preserve the fact that these non-existent amplifiers are in the game so that you can't build stuff around them, but it also prevents you from actually being able to shoot through them or anything. I mean, it's not super big, but it's definitely annoying. That is not what I wanted to put there. Okay. Good job.
Sorry.
Just gonna move her around.
Hey, our fort's getting beat up.
Wait, he died?
We have a break in the action. Another wave coming soon. Prepare for an attack from the east.
Yep, and we got propane.
You are not a bear. You are not a bear. I am not a bear. I was a bear. You are not a bear.
Yup, definitely dying.
Can't.
Wait, they shouldn't be able to have
You are not a bear.
water propane husks? Like, why are they changing color? It's like they have the tank ability, but that shouldn't be possible.
You serious?
Whoa! Not today, Dad.
You are not a bear.
During the weekdays, this will probably be about the time that I start streaming VG.
I was.
No need to wake up early on account of me, though.
Shoot it, stab it, or fix it. We got trouble.
Why am I carrying junk strength? And junk powder. Well, if you enjoy it, feel free to keep doing that.
I am a bear.
And sweet, that means 100 extra perk up after this mission. Oh, the propane's going. That's about what I expected.
I am a bear.
I really don't like having to come back here and deal with these guys, though. Okay, so that one is too close to actually survive. You can build things starting right here. so that's not a slope. Doesn't look like a jump position either.
Sorry. Husks incoming!
Actually, it should work out pretty well.
Gross.
Now, if I had something that would actually deal damage to him over there, it probably would have killed him while he was stuck on the ground. I didn't even see that guy there. Has so many things to spend schematic experience on, it's nuts. Yeah, I'm not sure about the chroming. I don't recall them ever doing that before. I wonder if it's because of
Prepare for an attack from the west.
Can't keep me down.
I wonder if it's because of the new horde. Because they're not supposed to have those modifiers here. Hey, what's going on, Jaju? It's definitely weird.
Our fort's in danger.
Hey, what's happening, Vox?
You did it! If you try to take my loot, I'll cut you. Not a joke.
Now somebody completely underleveled should be able to go into Twine. It should be fun. He'll probably be running like Canny Valley missions until he actually gets his power level up. Oh, nice. And one of my buddies finished a video that I'll need to edit for him at some point, which is good. Oh, sweet. What you finishing up? I'm guessing you already got your hands on the field agent. That seems like a really low amount of experience for some reason. Yeah, she seems like a mix of Gunblazer and the Dark Viking, so interesting. It'll be interesting when I actually get into a mission with her, but the piercing shot ability actually seems to be pretty good. Runs through shields, can hit multiple targets, and she has some interesting pistol perks too. The normal bonus crit chance and the support bonus crit chance, which I wasn't expecting, but it's also really nice. Yeah, she is a weaker version of Ragnarok's Seismic Slam, or Seismic Punch. Which basically just means it deals half damage. But for anything other than like a Smasher or a Flinger, you really weren't going to need that much damage anyway, so it's whatever. especially since she's supposed to have sort of a ranged playstyle. I wouldn't expect you to actually try to get close enough for it to return. But is he still not? No, he's doing something. Is he trying to join Twine missions? I think most of what I need right now is just a bunch of reperk and, you know, the usual experiences. Well, we got a level for somebody. Who should it go to? Oh, am I still doing that? Let's change you. Guess we'll throw Llama right back in. Oh, wait, how many of these assault rifles am I using? Okay, never mind. No, that's still not a bad choice. Alright, I was just deciding whether or not I wanted to add the assault damage. Yeah, I completely understand that sentiment, Vox. No problem. Get yourself some rest. And I'll see if I can catch a stream in the morning. Ooh. He's gonna be super under level for that though. Actually, let me check Stormshield 1 and see if anything good is available. I don't think so. No, there's an Epic Survivor, Legendary perk ups, which I don't believe I can see. And then 2 that I should be able to, which are this guy and no. This one? No. Should be 76. But for whatever reason I can't see it. Oh no, it's this. Alright. Yeah, I was actually streaming OMDU yesterday. I was on it for about 2 hours. We did a couple of chaos runs. I cleared the weekly challenge. The VOD for that should probably be up tomorrow morning. Chicken nuggets are good. Oh, party invite from Cody. What's he up to?
Weather alert. Ah, the weather balloon. Nature's spy. Let's bring it in. Let's find the landing site.
Oh, he's getting the legendary perk up. That's fine. Me? I am ancient. I'm like 32.
Stand by for an important weather alert.
You guessed it. Congratulations, professional age guesser. Clingers, these are fun. I like to toss those on top of these guys.
Hey! You break it, you buy it!
Not quite as strong enough to kill those.
I see you.
Whoa, did that crit for 260,000 damage? That's interesting. Okay, so they're tossing people in over here. I'll see what they're doing. And is he playing Rio or is he playing Grizzly again?
That's right.
Looks like Rio. Okay. Not very. Like, the game has a lot of base building mechanics, but the pathing for the enemy AI is very different in base building games than your typical tower defense. Because if you look at any game that has base building, one of the key differences from your traditional tower defense game is that paths are not nearly as hard to find. And in the case of this game,
You got this, Commander.
everything can essentially be destroyed. Nothing's permanent. So anything that you build can't be permanently protected, and the AI is able to know how fast it can destroy certain things or reach certain points based on that. So the defense aspect is very similar to OMDU, but the actual building and pathing is like leaps and bounds different. And because of the free-to-play nature of the game, what you're able to do completely differs based on... Wait, what was... Somebody's effects were going nuts? My effects were going nuts. That's the answer to that.
Damage, guys.
But basically, because of the destructible nature of everything, it really depends on how many, like, what type of traps you have, how well you can defend in any given scenario. So basically, the game starts off like holding your hand a lot to make sure that it's not too tough, and then by the time you get into Canny Valley, which is basically the game's third act, they stop holding your hand and make sure that they throw everything at you. So by the time you're through here, you should really understand a lot more about the game, just because it's necessary to get this far. Like, it's basically like this would be the master difficulty in OMDU. If you haven't figured the game out by here, this is going to give you a tough time. I'm not sure. Are we too close to spawn so the ground blew up? Yeah. Okay. But ultimately, if you're just a fan of base building in general, you're probably going to enjoy this. It's kind of a mix of where I would consider Orcs Must Die and I guess something like 7 Days to Die, where the base building isn't as granular as 7 Days to Die. Like, you don't have to build everything literally block by block. The pieces are generally more defined than that, and the enemy AI is able to react to those pieces differently, like differently enough to actually make it worthwhile to understand it. But at the same time, like traps and things like that don't require a ton of work to actually make or use. You kind of just place them and then they do their thing on their own. You don't have to power them or turn them on or anything like that. Like, they've struck a really good balance of being able to just jump into the game and play versus a lot of really grindy work that doesn't add a lot to the gameplay. And that's actually something that they've worked on throughout the development, which is really nice. Okay, I'm not sure exactly what they were destroying, unless they were destroying those aerial atlases. The only thing that I really feel is shooting Epic in the foot here is they announced very early that this game was going to go free to play, and it's been over a year since the game went into open beta and hasn't been free to play. So a lot of people who would normally have jumped into the game and have been trying it out are waiting for that free to play situation to happen. Okay, B is the one that took damage. B is somewhere over here. There we go. What the heck's going on over here?
I was there.
Okay.
That your fort has uninvited guests. Go 86 them.
Okay. Yeah, and that's exactly what I mean, VG. I think the idea that, well, I understand why they started it that way, and it's because essentially they were planning on selling Fortnite as a full price title initially. However, that changed once they released Battle Royale, and that took over everything. And I'm not talking about like when they initially went into open beta. I mean like probably about, I don't know, I think this game was in development for something like 5 or 6 years. When they started it, they had like a bunch of different ideas about how the model of the game was going to go. And they started with a buy-in for early access, and with the buy-in you got a bunch of llamas, which get you a lot of the game's different types of loot. Alright, need to lead him away from the bases.
You have been tracked.
Oh.
You are not a bear.
Oh, they're just literally sitting out here flinging.
The fort is falling.
I don't even think anything needs to be done here. Except for getting rid of, that guy.
Left to go. Take it out.
It's really not even just the fact that they said the game was going to be launched free to play that's a problem now. It's also the fact that, like, if you wanted people to like just buy in for llamas or whatever, that's one thing. But having a game in early access for an extended period of time causes a lot of issues with people's faith in the game. Like, they stopped selling the Founders Editions. So really, what that's saying is the game isn't actually in a beta state anymore, because ultimately, unless you were just trying to lure in whales, there's no reason to not have the Founders Editions in the game anymore. But hopefully they actually do go into full release sometime soon. They haven't actually put out a firm date that I've seen yet. Superhero llama. Definitely don't need those. Do I have some of these to buy? Rain's okay. Lightning in a bottle is definitely okay. I'll probably buy the storm shards. And then I think I'm good for gold things this week. Hey, what's happening, Jaju? Welcome back. I don't really need any of those still. Let me see what's up with Cody. Not too many people that I know play this game. I play with a lot of friends that I had when I was originally playing a lot of Orcs Must Die, though. They migrated over here when it was really new, so most of them are actually like way more powerful than I am. Like Vox is higher than me. Who else? I think most of my original friends list is probably 125 already, but I might not be able to see them because they're not online. They must not even be logged into the Epic launcher right now. But I have no issues playing with fans or anything like that. I normally help people out most of the time anyway. That's where I wanted to go. Don't need that. That's full. Okay, I'm gonna need to upgrade something to obsidian soon. That can be trashed once I get into the other one, so can that. Okay. Where did all the XP come from? I finished like a side quest or something? No, I didn't. What's happening else? Indeed, I'd be streaming again. Which puns are we doing today? I'm not even sure, but I think you don't have a pun partner at the moment. Okay, that's good. He's max now. So that's all my mythic leads. He's too scared. Wait, who's too scared? I'm playing Save the World. Random competitive games really aren't my thing. Hey, what's going on, Devin? It's another Netherlands guy. I'm gonna have to get over there one day. A friend of mine from the States actually did hop into Europe and did a little bit of humanitarian work and some teaching over there for a couple years. He just came back, I think, a couple months ago. I am American. Whether that's a blessing or a curse is yet to be decided. My medical bills would say otherwise. Oh, okay.
You know the drill. We're ready to expand again.
How am I the first American that pronounced your name right?
Select Expand Shield from the Stormshield console.
Like, Devin isn't even an uncommon name in the US.
Oh, great! You brought a friend. You can grant building and harvesting permissions to visitors using the Stormshield console menu.
Oh gosh, I cringe every time I hear anybody say a weapon is a god roll.
post-apocalyptic storm ninja, like I do.
Because 90% of the time you hear somebody say God roll, they pick that idea up from a YouTuber. And I don't think that anybody should really refer to a weapon as a God roll, just because, like, except for like pure numbers, most weapon preferences are for the player. So, you know, some people may like certain things better than others, some people won't. But it's important to sort of feel your weapons out so that you actually have ones that handle well for you and that you like using. Oh, that's cool. That makes it even worse though. If they picked an American name for you, how do Americans pronounce your name wrong? That's nuts. I mean, like, people make fun of Americans not speaking other languages all the time, and I'm just like, okay, whatever. Americans not being able to pronounce their own names, that's bad. Especially since 90% of the American names are like transformed from like some old High German or some form of like Welsh or Cornish. Like, it's ridiculous. Oh wait, he's asked me to check something out. Wait, what is he doing? Okay. Oh, the Wraith. 30 crit. Let me shoot it a couple times. Oh wow, this holds really steady. Yes. Guess is U before E. Oh, you never said what kind of mats he needed. But that's also the thing, Nils. I don't think there is actually a perfect way to use each weapon. There's like a way to maximize the damage, but there's also the idea that, like, I mean, you can always, like, theoretically reach some highest possible damage, but then you can have, you can also have like huge damage spikes when you do that, and that's kind of like what crit build weapons are known for. There's some weapons that can be crit that can build for crit better than others, but then there's other weapons where it's just really good to have solid damage bonuses. And which one you want to choose depends on things like which characters you have, which support bonuses you have available, the stats of the characters you have, and all kinds of stuff, just so you can make sure that, you know, you have the most, you know, the best grouping of characters and stats that works for you. Yeah, that's true as well. Exactly what Vox said. Playstyle is important. Like Cody, the guy I'm playing with, he swears up and down that like this one Outlander is the best Outlander in the game, and we've had like a lot of discussions about it. But it's basically just that the Outlander that he plays is extremely good for his playstyle. Oh, that's interesting, Devin. I know we do have an exchange student program. I'm not sure, given our current political state, how well that's going, but I actually had a few exchange students when I was in high school. Specifically in high school. I don't remember too many exchange students when I was younger, but a few of my friends are teachers, and they have like some really young students from other countries in there too, which, depending on the age, can actually be a bit problematic, like just because they may have not learned any English yet, and being dropped off in a country that you don't speak the language of in any way is actually really difficult no matter where you're from. And welcome back again, Jaju. Not sure exactly what plan is here. Wait, do I have edits? I do have edits. No problem, Vox. Enjoy your rest. Have a great stream tomorrow.
Shield power increasing.
So, depending on exactly what you're looking for, there are some classes that are going to be very much not overpowered. One thing that this game has not done well is control power creep, and that's kind of problematic just for people that are getting into the game, because it's like, if you didn't exist for a specific event, then you're going to have a ton of issues actually trying to get through the game.
You are not aware.
I think you said it right. So school is weird because different countries have, or basically set up their school levels differently. The general pattern in the US is about 4 to 5 years in elementary school. Right. Like, again, you know, different countries set up their schools a little bit differently. Like, I know in places like Japan, high school for them is the last 3 grades. In the US is usually the last 4. I believe it's 8th through 12th grade. We usually refer to college as 13th grade because they make you do a lot of like remedial education in college, even if you test out of the stuff. And it's just because they don't expect that a lot of people actually master most of the info they get from high school here, which is really unnerving when you think about it. Because they basically force you to pay to go to high school at that point if you decide to go into college. But then before college you have middle school, or what they sometimes refer to as junior high, and that is somewhere between 5th and 7th grade. So 5, 6, and 7.
You are not aware.
17 now, so you would probably be in the 11th grade.
More bullets.
Oh, first year of college. Wow. Congrats, dude. That's a pretty young age to go into college over here. We normally don't start college until 18 or 19. I actually personally elected not to skip a couple of grades when I was younger because I thought that personally it would have been a poor social experience for me, which is funny because my best friend did exactly that. He skipped 2 grades.
Another wave coming soon.
And like, he was just really socially awkward when he got into high school. There was a lot of like just information and ideas he didn't understand.
Double jump.
It's also really interesting to see somebody that's like, you know, like 12 years old going into high school. Like, everybody else is a little taller, probably has a bit more facial hair.
Always use bullets.
If you are taking advanced courses in a high school or in a university at all. I know like some universities actually don't list things the same way as we do in the US either. But 19 would be like third year, so you would basically be a junior in undergraduate studies.
You are not a bear. I was a bear.
If that's third year of college, it would be junior undergraduate. But again, I think like just the weird naming conventions for college were meant to be confusing, just because college was originally like just a big social like
Getting reports that your fort has uninvited guests.
institution that was hard to get into unless you actually had money. Right, so I'm gonna go ahead and drop one of these. Wait, oh, can't do it here. So it's funny that you mentioned that, Devin. That's the actual way that we refer to school, like overall. So college, or I'm sorry, elementary school is basically like it can be grouped as kindergarten. The boy, you hate the voice lines on the robot. Yeah, man, the bear puns cannot be defeated. They have followed us from Orcs Must Die into Fortnite, and they are still going strong. But when we talk about school in a more overarching fashion, we refer to everything up until 8th grade as primary education, and high school is considered secondary education. And I think that's because for a bunch of like really old social reasons, we have the ability to have you opt out of secondary education. Like essentially, if there's extenuating circumstances, somebody can quit high school around the age of 16, depending on the circumstances. But then college is post-secondary education. So it really is like the third group of school. And I think the reason that that they have all of those remedial classes in our colleges here is because again, not a lot of people actually like retain some of the information that they get when going to school in the US, and they require that remedial education sometimes. Like I know people that I work with.
Be brave, little fort.
So you go to school for 10 years, and then you can take an extra year there, and then after that you go to primary education. So primary education for you guys, so you wait, wouldn't the first 10 years be primary since that's first? I'm not sure why the second group of schools would be primary. That is kind of weird.
You're done here.
You are not a bear.
Well, for us, normally you're expected to be out of primary and secondary education at the age of 18 years old. You start work, depending on your situation, somewhere around the age of 14 plus.
Bad news, Husks.
And like in the case of some people, they actually have to start working at the age of 14, and because of that, they have specialized school schedules that allow them to go to school less often so that they can go to work. Got it. That makes sense. You have elementary education and then you would call it primary, because the elementary education would be what you're expected to know to be able to basically survive in society. Kinda getting it now.
Look out. Fort's under attack.
I am a bear. You are not a bear.
But yeah, I mean, I can definitely say that without a solid education, like whether it be from school or if it's just, you know, you happen to be autodidactic and you can pick up knowledge and information on your own. Yeah, like you have to be 14 here too, child labor laws and everything. And I mean, that's a good thing because beforehand, you know, they were sending like 8-year-olds down in the mines, so I'm not really upset with that. But me personally, because I haven't done the whole, you know, draw my life, you know, have everybody bawl their eyes out YouTube story yet, because I don't want everybody to join my YouTube channel and start crying, because that would literally happen. Things have not actually been easy for me growing up. I'll get around to actually telling that entire story, but at some point.
You are not a bear.
But yeah, I actually did start working at 14. I needed to be able to buy clothes for school.
I was a bear.
Yeah, it's that is a very nice word. Dude, I'm all about education. Like, have a good one. Like, I always say, like, personally, that education isn't just for schools. You can learn something anywhere, and it's a good idea to be paying attention to everything that happens in your life.
You are not.
Because the more you know, the easier situations are.
You are not. I was a bear.
We're taking damage, guys.
Dude.
A bear.
If I had gotten paid to go to school, like, I cannot tell you how different life would have been for me.
Sorry.
Like, ridiculously great.
You are not a bear.
And I enjoyed school. Like, school wasn't something that I hated. Unlike a lot of people in the US, like, kids kind of dread school because, I mean, I'm not gonna lie, for the most part, it was just, like, drills. Like, you know, here's what we need to learn to pass this test. We're only gonna learn what we have to teach you to get you through the test because we only have a limited amount of time, and the test is what we get paid for. And that, personally, like, even being educated like that for a short period of time, because, like, when I was in school was when we started leaning towards, like, the standards that the US has now. It was just very annoying. Like, everybody felt like you were just learning stuff that you would never use in practical situations in the future. And none of it was really bad knowledge. It was just, some of it was so obtuse that it didn't make a lot of sense. Yeah, I know that feeling too. Oh, dude, I blame McCarthyism for that. like, America's never ever going to swing full socialist in any time in my lifetime, and I understand that. Like, it was a pretty... No, you're pretty spot on, Niels. For the most part, we started off like at the best libertarian, but very much a sort of right-leaning country, and that was hundreds of years ago. We haven't moved much further to the left since that time. I mean, it took us, what, 100 years to outlaw slavery? And that was only at the cost of a civil war. And then women didn't get to vote for another 150 years. And African Americans had to wait another 100 years. No, so I'm off on that. No, women had to wait another 56 years after the Civil War to get the right to vote. And then African Americans got the right to vote 100 years after the Civil War, basically. So, yeah, it took us a few hundred years just to actually have all the citizenry actually be able to vote. And even between that, like, we had like all kinds of like crazy like social issues with, funny enough, people immigrating. I think we had a whole lot of hate against Irish immigrants when they first came over here, which was very interesting. You can read about some of that, like, literally on websites. It wasn't quite the same treatment that African Americans got, because they weren't thrown into chattel slavery or anything like that. Yeah, like, that's the thing. I am completely okay with, like, safety nets being in society, but, like, nobody wants to pay for them here. It's like, okay, you randomly catch a cold at work. It puts you out of work for 2 days. That removes the income that you needed to keep yourself floating from paycheck to paycheck. You now can no longer afford to have shelter or food. Pick one. Oh no, dude, like, wealthy people dislike Denmark because it's hard for them to get claws into your economy. Like, almost every state that I think the US has any issues with is probably because it's hard to buy into it. And a lot of countries have capital controls to prevent that specific thing. And I don't think capital controls are particularly evil or anything. Like, they're important to make sure that your money doesn't get exploited. I mean, if you actually look at some of, like, the weird trade agreements that countries sign into, it's quite ridiculous. Like, I think I was reading an article at one point saying that some African countries had basically signed trade agreements that basically spelled out that they had to accept secondhand clothes from the US to sell them to their population, which is weird. Like, I mean, it's one thing if they were purchasing like ready-made garments, but you're talking about clothes that were used and then basically packaged up somewhere, possibly donated even, and then they were supposed to take those, pay the US for them, and then sell those to their population. So they basically could not front a textile industry of their own because they're forced via those trade agreements to accept US imports of secondhand clothes. Like, that just boggled the mind for me a bit. Like, I was like, are we really going to... Who decided that it was okay to sell secondhand underwear? I don't know.
The horde awaits.
But at the same time, I do understand that if you're gonna swing the US in any sort of like political situation, then they probably are going to need like some good explanation and some good checks and balances to make sure that you don't wreck all the people that have already been enjoying themselves with the way that the economy is set up. And that's usually the case. And it's not like an unwarranted thing either, because where I live, they have done some really shady stuff politically. And it's funny because they have YouTube gives me surveys about some of the things that are going on, because they've been like plastered all over the place, and it'll be like, do you think XYZ new tax actually you know, does, like, do you think XYZ new tax does whatever the political people said it was going to do? Right, donations are one thing, but like forcing people to purchase like secondhand clothing is just weird to me. Like, I was not aware that that was an industry that we forced on to other countries. Like, we do the donation thing with clothes too. But I was unaware that we were literally telling other countries that they had to purchase secondhand clothes. Like, that just seemed like that again, that boggled my mind. I had no idea. Wait, where are we? What difficulty is this? Challenge 1, Wave 1? We have like everything here.
Wave incoming. 30 seconds.
Yeah, we'll shotgun it for now. Oh, but yeah, like the area I live in, they had a big vote locally somewhere around like 2 years ago to establish this new tax. And the tax was supposed to help you know, send the huge boom in children that we had into kindergarten and pre-K. So basically a bunch of kids would get to go to school that we barely had the money to support in the past, and that was like, that's a really good idea. Everybody was behind it. But then the opposition was like, be careful where they say your taxes are going, because they might not always get there. And don't you believe it, not a couple years, or not even a couple years, literally a year after the tax gets passed, we look at the numbers and we find out the city is using it to negotiate with contractors. None of the money, literally 0%, actually went to putting kids in school. And the worst thing is, I am still getting notifications asking me, you know, after the city itself has admitted that, you know, they're not putting the kids in school. I'm still getting the surveys asking if, you know, the tax is actually doing what it was asked to do.
You are not a bear.
We absolutely know that's a no. So yeah, like, I am completely aware that politics is a buyer beware situation. It's not something that you blindly follow. And I would advise anybody, no matter what country or political situation you're in, to always vet whoever your leaders are going to be. Whether that be the leaders in your household, the leaders in your community, the leaders in any particular group you join, or, you know, your political leaders.
Stand by for an important weather alert.
But that's enough ranting about politics. They usually drive people off anyway. Some people don't like a lot of viewpoints, and some people don't like to share their own. And then you run into people with really crazy ideas that are like, you know, most of the people that they're talking to should probably die. And it's like, did you really come somewhere to share that viewpoint? And did you really feel that was necessary?
Wave incoming. Wave incoming. 10 seconds. Wave start.
Politics and death threats #1. Oh, dude, the number of like ridiculous amount of death threats that have been happening over the past couple of years is huge, and I'm completely not okay with that. Like, I don't know how many of you have been following the ongoings with Dr. Disrespect, but for like the last 2 or 3 days, somebody has driven by his house and fired gunshots at his windows while his kids were home, and his wife, and one of the shots was like basically at eye level with his children when they were in the bathtub, but luckily they weren't in there at the time that it was fired. Like, it's ridiculous. Like, regardless of what I think of the guy's streaming personality or anything else going on, I don't see how anybody could ever advocate for like somebody who's just driving by his house randomly and firing on him and his family.
Stand by for an important weather alert.
You know, if it's only in America, I am completely okay with that. It would be very unfortunate if the same kind of situations were popping up in every other country. People just randomly driving by people's houses and firing on them. That's not cool.
Wave incoming. 1 minute.
Is it gonna do the
Wave incoming. 30 seconds.
Jacksonville was the Madden player that lost in the tournament, went and got a gun and then shot the people he lost to.
Wave incoming. 10 seconds.
Yeah, that was freaking senseless and horrible.
Wave start. Don't come back.
I am a bear. You
yeah, the amount of stuff that people are doing to get on YouTube is nuts. I mean, I thought the pranking issues like a few years back was kind of ridiculous, but nowadays, like, they have kids doing dumb stuff, like actual children doing stuff like using firearms. There was one girl that like did a live stream on Twitter, and she shot her phone while streaming. I think via Periscope or something. It was like some of the stupidest things I've ever seen.
You have been tracked.
I am a bear.
Let's go.
And I mean, I'm not like personally against like gun ownership or anything like that. I'm not all for people having like high-tech military grade equipment either. But people doing dumb things with guns is never okay.
I am a bear.
Always use bullets.
Oh my gosh, that was the stupidest thing I had ever heard of. Like, if you wanted to see if a phone book could stop a bullet, why would one of you be holding it? I do not actually own a gun myself at the moment. Though, there are guns where I live, and like multiple friends of mine own guns.
Wave incoming. 30 seconds.
Like, it's easy to purchase a large rifle in the US. Like, they're not particularly expensive. It is actually very expensive to purchase like smaller arms, especially anything that can be concealed, and that's where they do most of the background checks.
Wave incoming. 10 seconds.
Which I think is quite hilarious. Like, you want a carbine? No problems. You want a pistol? Let me see your permit.
I am a bear.
This is probably the weirdest spawn situation
Are not a bear.
I've seen here.
Stay in the fight.
I am a bear.
Oh, they closed that off, that's why. An AA-12, isn't that a combat shotgun? Yeah. But for hanging, no bullets.
Could've stayed home.
Shells.
Nope.
I am a bear.
Oh, dude.
You are not a bear.
There are tons of gun collectors in the US. Like, my girlfriend's ex, his dad was a gun collector and actually used to make, non-Americans know, there's a lot of Americans that just collect guns to hang on their shelf. A friend of mine actually just bought a replica of an a 1762 British flintlock rifle. That was basically similar to what they used in the American Revolution. And, I mean, it's an interesting piece of craftsmanship. I mean,
You have been tracked.
But yeah, a friend of his has the American rifle that was used at the time. So basically, they get together and they fire the guns used in the American Revolution for fun.
Sorry.
You are not a bear.
And they're shells because of the way that they actually fire. Most shotgun shells are...
Wave incoming. 30 seconds.
yeah, hang the antiques, but no AA-12s.
Help! Please!
PPSH-41. I'm not familiar with that.
Wave incoming. 10 seconds.
Down!
Wave start.
You serious? Need help! Ugh, thanks.
Fort's taken on husks.
Yeah, I mean, World War II wasn't quite that long ago, though. I mean, there's still a few people around who were in it, so... if they don't still manufacture that specific gun, a lot of companies will make replicas that are very similar, if not created exactly the same way as the original pieces themselves. So that's interesting sometimes. Drum mag to SMG.
I am a bear, a bear.
Oh gosh. Invisible floor bugs. And they blew all of this up already. Sweet.
I need a medevac.
You are not a bear. I was a bear.
Played too many FPS games. You know, they actually do have like one somewhat interesting game that I saw on Steam. It was I think was it World of Guns? Let me actually look that up. I won't have to do much here, but just dropped headies. I think it was World of Guns. Just pull up Steam for a second. Yes, World of Guns, Gun Disassembly. It's a free game, and it actually has you disassemble like various weapons, and like it's literally just about all of the various pieces and machinery that goes into guns. So if you were like a super, you know, gun nerd and you wanted to see what the various weapons that they offer in it were like, and it's probably also a giant advertisement for the manufacturers that allowed their guns to be in there. If you want to check it out, it's interesting. The Division 2? You a big Tom Clancy fan?
Stand by for an important weather alert.
I was a bear.
Wave incoming.
What do you mean, Olivia?
Wave incoming. 10 seconds.
I could use a
Wave
sniper
start.
rifle.
No, I should probably actually create that gun for her.
I am a bear.
Husk spotted.
I mean, was The Division a Ubisoft game? I have papers, please. I also have the Westport Independent, which isn't exactly the same as Papers, Please. It's more of a political game. Wow.
Our fort's under attack.
That was a lot of explosions.
You have been tracked.
But yeah, if you guys want, I can fire up like some of the indies and stuff I have on streams. Like, The Division is very repetitive. Like, it's not even a question. And I think that's just part of game companies and their move towards live services rather than individual titles. Oh gosh.
You have been tracked.
I mean, there's something to be said about repetition. It's familiar with for a lot of people. This game is repetitive as anything can really be.
You have been tracked.
I'm just saying that to say repetition isn't necessarily a bad thing, but I will play Save the World with you if you want. Like, I'm not opposed to playing with like lower level people. I do it all the time. And it is, they have removed 90% of the grind from the game. Like, you can get, it used to take a few months to actually get through the game. Now you can actually grind up to like the in-game content in like 2 weeks if you actually have like dedicated people. But most players get to where I am in like, I don't know, 2-3 months now. I've been playing for almost a year, off and on, but still a significant amount of hours have been in.
Wave incoming. 10 seconds. Wave start.
You have been tracked.
Nope, too many explosions. I'm out of here.
The fort is falling.
You have been tracked.
You are not a bear. I was a bear.
I mean, it's okay. The only thing I will say about Save the World that's annoying to me is the fact that there's a lot of like really annoying micro grinding. Like, you have to grind for everything and it's very piecemeal. So if I want to increase the level, wow, well, that's all gone. If I want to increase the rarity of a perk on a weapon, then I need to grind for like 2 individual things through at least about 4 missions. That's for 1 rarity change. If I count like the amount of grind necessary to go from a basic perk to a high level perk, then that's somewhere like 3 or 4 hours of gameplay, which is kind of ridiculous.
You have been tracked.
Like, they've taken every ounce of MMO grindiness that they possibly could fit into this game and made sure that they got it in there. But they've also made sure that the game was enjoyable enough that like it's playable. So that's also a good thing too.
Look out. Fort's under attack.
The only thing that I would really like to see in this game, if anything at all, is wow. Okay. Using a Noble Launcher against propane is definitely not a good idea.
You are not a bear. I was a bear.
But yeah, the amount of grind necessary for each individual piece in this game is quite high. the perk grind that they added is actually heavier than any of the hero grinding that they've ever done. Yeah, but like Warframe, like every bit of grinding that you did had like some tangible benefit. And like those benefits only increased as you played further. And the grind was actually using the equipment in the game, so it was like, okay. Yeah, Save the World is the original Fortnite.
For an important weather alert.
The game became so popular for Battle Royale that most people don't even take a look at it, though. And they have really been, like, they've had a bunch of sales and half prices for buying into Save the World to try to get people into it, but the player base for Save the World is not quite as large as Battle Royale. Though it increases every time they do a sale, which is good.
Wave incoming. 30 seconds.
Built a pyramid on top of a pyramid. It's kind of hilarious.
Wave incoming. 10 seconds. Wave start.
No, I can't do it here. That's bad a move then. Yeah. Definitely gonna do this though.
Our fort's in danger.
Husk spotted!
You have been tracked.
Whoa!
Almost. He's gone.
Let's go.
Oh. That was a great answer. Since 2017. This particular one, based on how long I've been streaming, probably about 20 minutes. I think on YouTube you should actually be able to rewind the current VOD recording a bit. Actually, I can do it.
You are not a bear.
And
You are not a bear. I was.
whoa, no, it's been about half an hour.
You are not a bear. I was a bear.
Back up.
Ooh, storm's getting rowdy.
You are not a bear.
I do upload my streams, but YouTube makes you review them
Are not.
and make them public after they're done being recorded. So if you want to like cut out some opening time or whatever, you can do that.
You.
I actually need to. I like reviewing my streams before I actually make them public again, though. Just because if there's any issues with the audio, then I can sort of try to learn from that.
I was a bear.
Because man, I was using the OBS streaming software for YouTube yesterday, and I didn't realize that while I was using that, I had no game audio whatsoever. Like, I'm sure you guys should be getting game audio through this now because I'm using the original OBS and everything came through fine on Orcs. Otherwise, you would only hear my voice and there would be no game audio whatsoever. And I didn't realize that Streamlabs OBS was doing that at first. It was like kind of ridiculous. I didn't make it public yet. It is on YouTube, it is just not public. Like, I could give you a link to it, but you won't be able to see it in the list.
You are not a bear.
Yeah, I plan on making it public probably after I'm finished this. You'll be able to see it as soon as I make it public, Olivia.
You are not a bear. I was.
Yeah.
And I will probably start doing polls for the stuff that I'll be streaming like every week. Just to try to keep somewhat of a consistent gameplay going. We'll probably do like I don't know. I think I want to do something like maybe 2 streams a week and then do like 2 to 3 videos so we can mix everything up. Once I actually get back into a groove. I still haven't quite recovered from everything. Oh, we were on tier 3. That makes sense. I said Olivier. Oh, my accent probably makes it sound like I'm saying Olivia. Yeah, we usually pronounce that name French. Another challenger should approach. Ah, so Olivia is the reason that we have French fries in the States. Yeah, no, but Americans don't pick up the fact that Belgian people speak French. And so when American soldiers realized that Belgian soldiers were frying the potatoes, they thought they were just French people. And so when they brought them back to the US, they called them French fries. Look, Mills, we know that they don't actually cook in grease. They just serve everything raw. My girlfriend really likes Greek food, though. Like, well, some things she likes, some things she doesn't. But more often than not, she will eat food prepared in, like, Mediterranean styles over just about everything else. But she's a big fan of salads, I'm not. Although tomato caprices are pretty nice. I wish we used olive oil more often in the States. When I was cooking with olive oil, like, I was so much healthier. They usually use much lower quality oils in the US. Throw some oil in it and it's Greek. Yeah, she likes to do that too. You know, dip the bread in the olive oil and all that. I don't prefer oil on my bread. Greasy burritos are not cool. You have to drain the meat. And never, ever, ever have a burrito with cheese in it where they microwaved it after they put the cheese in there. That's like the worst situation. Look, I'm not in the military. I'm not invading anybody.
Stand by for an important weather alert.
Waiting for American oil memes to just start flooding the chat now.
You could have stayed home. Medic!
Everything's a meme until somebody gets hurt. You will find that it is not easy to get me pissed off.
Nice. Do over.
Like, I have a fairly thicker skin than the majority of people. And that's being literal. He glitch? Yeah, I don't think that guy's actually here. Interesting. Surprisingly enough, weaponized freedom is more bombs than bullets.
You serious?
Oh, dude, that was annoying just because it was completely ruining the play experience.
Diagnostics to see what's wrong.
Because that wasn't even, that removed all enjoyment from, like, trying to play that game. Like, it's one thing if somebody's new at a game, it's another when, like, they literally just make you lose. And at that point, it's not even like I'm mad at the person because I didn't win. I'm mad because, like, they literally just decided to waste my time. Yeah, pretty much. I'm 100% behind spike trap spammers. Spike traps work. I cleared 75% of orcs must die with spike traps. Now the question is, are they putting spike traps in the wrong place? Because that's just placement issues. even tier 1 spikes are okay. Most people don't realize that like the difference between a level 1 trap and a level 7 trap is not that much. The highest difference in damage that your trap can deal is 96% more damage. Granted, that's significant, but it's not that huge a difference.
Our fort's under attack?
You are not aware.
I stand up to bullies.
Most of the time, it can be made up for with crowd control or just hero damage. But that's usually the main issue. Most people have no idea how crowd control in orcs works. Well, no, I mean like if your traps deal less damage, you literally have to slow the enemies down more. That's basically how low damage traps work. I think Kefka did that. I think he called it non-lethal nonsense. The quarter pounder isn't really wonky. It's just, well, I guess it's hard to use, and that's probably what you mean by wonky. Oh, the steam vent is actually really great. Like, the steam vent was like my baby for a little while until they nerfed it. And then I was kind of sad. Oh, they have metal corrosion. Yeah, this is a bad idea. Oh, we could do that. Just do some random OMD streams and then have people suggest like crazy loadouts. You know what? I think like some of the things that OMD probably had missed opportunities on. Like, you know how with things like sabotage, they have the modifiers and everything that you can get? They could have had a very viewer-friendly mode by adding in like a Twitch API and allowing players to pick the modifiers for certain enemies that you'd be running into. Like if they could choose the boss that you'd be going up against, so that it wouldn't always be stale if you were streaming. Or Steam Vent is the truth. Like before they actually increased the range of most of the ceiling traps and everything, Steam Vent was doing work to like just slow enemies down and put them in interesting places. Like, you know why everybody thought Bianca was amazing? Because of her butt bounce? That's basically the Steam Vent trap. And because the Steam Vent trap still causes the bonus damage on smaller minions, you could launch minions and have like other traps hit them for ridiculous amounts of damage. If you had heroes that had explosive abilities or anything that was AoE, that worked while they were in the air too. It was just all kinds of beautiful. No, you said llama time. Oh, okay. You can't any material charge a llama. That's not how it works. But I think that's what we can do. Like we could, if I wanted to do some Orcs Must Die streams and I wanted to make the streams themselves somewhat educational, I could do like, you know, well, besides just offering people, you know, joining me in some Chaos Trials, we could also pick a trap and like make that the feature trap for the stream. So if we wanted to do, say, I don't know, a trap where we tried using steam vents on multiple maps, that would be interesting. Or if we wanted to use the quarter pounder and see how that worked on a bunch of different maps, that would also be nice.
That's right.
Well, I mean, at some point, like, people have a very limited amount of time, like, to do a lot of things. And I think one of the things that companies forget nowadays, and this is not even just, like, games, this is just in general, people have to split their time between a large number of things on any given day. And every time a new game comes out, that's an opportunity for you to lose part of your player base. So if you're not doing your very best to make sure that any game you make is maintained and interesting, then ultimately over time the player base is going to drop. I mean, that's the case with any game, especially if the content becomes stale. It's probably an issue with money.
Sorry.
I generally don't like most lightning traps on endless. The only lightning trap that ever really seems worth it is the wall zapper. Maxing the discount scroll is probably one of the most OP things in the game economy-wise. Like, if you do it just right, you can get something like 60 plus traps out with the starting money. It's disgusting.
Wish I could.
Like, that was actually the strategy that we used to get through some of the money challenges or the money difficulties that we had on Chaos Trials initially. So, like, we'd bring a few discount scrolls, and like somebody would bring max, and then it would just be like, boom, stupidly large amount of traps immediately. I'm sorry that your burrito is soggy. Hopefully, another day blesses you with more immaculate burritos. As long as I don't get called out to assist someone this weekend, I will probably throw up a stream.
Damaged pretty severely. Looks like the life support modules have all been stolen. These modules inflate and shield the shelter. The modules have to be around here somewhere. Search the zone and return the missing parts. Survivor shelters are built by a fleet of construction bots. If the bots are attacked, they enter stealth mode and power down. To repair the shelter, we'll need to reactivate all of the construction bots. Unfortunately, their stealth mode is really effective. You're gonna need some help finding those missing construction bots. Let me see if I can send some help. It might take a few minutes. There's an incoming wave detected. We have some time before they arrive. You can search for missing
No
parts
problem.
now,
Have a good
or
one, Nels.
reinforce the shelter. The construction bot has been reactivated. The module will now be installed. Each part will take a minute to install. So, 8 modules, 1 minute per module. That equals a lot of bullets. Help has arrived. Go find C-Bot. I've marked his location on the map. C-Bot only has a limited amount of energy. If you don't activate its scanner...
And you're required to put on a screen so a player can understand what's going on, the more ridiculous the interface and everything else becomes by definition.
All modules have been located.
That was pretty good.
After all parts have been installed, the shelter will attempt to power back up. When this happens, expect a big fight. The enemy will come from all directions. The power-up process takes 4 minutes. A module has been installed. The shelter is now stronger.
So I think after this stream is actually no. Why don't I do it right now? I got about 4 minutes before any of this gets turned in, and I don't really need much here. Okay. So let's go ahead and pull up the community page and see what we can do about coming up with a couple of ideas.
New module installation has begun.
Okay. Add poll. Next on the Ustream. I hate the fact that I have to actually like mash tab before I can actually do stuff again after clicking the screen. What does he want to show us?
A module has been installed. The shelter is now stronger. New module installation has begun.
I don't really care about any of your stuff though.
Mine.
I don't know what's so special about this.
Charge is running out. Hurry up if you
I guess do I play a Call of Duty or Battlefield? No, I do not.
A module has been installed.
I haven't played Call of Duty since Modern Warfare 2. And
New module installation has begun.
I don't think I've played a Battlefield game in a very, very long time. I can't remember the last time I played one. Okay, so the first option, Nils said he wanted steam vents. Somebody else said quarter pounder. We want to add another option. I guess that could be
C-bot is heading home
summoner
to
trap.
recharge. It'll return ASAP. A module has been installed. Shelter is now stronger.
That guy wanted to show off some guns that he had in his
New
inventory.
module installation has begun.
I don't personally care. And I mean, it's great that, you know, he has stuff and he wants to show it off, but I mean, okay. This is the list of guns that I have collected and am able to craft in this game. Notice I am still scrolling. I am still scrolling. I don't really care what anybody else has, because that's all the stuff that I need to worry about myself. And like, at any point, I could drop 90% of the stuff in my inventory and just craft a bunch of guns. But then, like, with all of the stuff in my inventory, I could craft literally thousands of traps and thousands of guns.
A module has been installed. The shelter is now stronger.
So there's no point in keeping a bunch of weapons in your inventory other than explosive weapons, just because they have exceptionally low durability in the game.
They must be preparing for a larger attack.
But you know, like, kids like shiny stuff. So, like, people that are younger generally are wowed by the fact that your guns are just gold. When technically you can make every single gun that you own gold over time just by playing the right missions.
Watch out.
Right. I mean, like, if you, like, you don't have anything specific to discuss about your weapons or why you use them, there's really no point in just showing them to other people. And if you don't trust the other people, that's even worse, because then they could just take your stuff. And if you cared about it at all, or don't have the ability to make the stuff you have yourself, then that's even a worse situation.
I am a bear.
Always use bullets.
I am a bear. You are not a bear.
Alright, so that should take care of that for a while. What are they doing over here?
Stay in the fight.
It's not exactly... Oh wow, he has enough for knockback to actually get them over there. Wait, there are people in there already?
Today is not your day.
And I think that's... yeah, that smash is going right through.
Break it, you buy it.
Wait, what? Was that from this? Alright, Rage Turtle just got wrecked by something.
You are not a bear. You are not a bear.
Drop crouch pants, I've inexplicably returned.
Okay, where is...
Protect the fort.
I am a bear.
crap?
I am a bear.
Oh, it's actually great that he went in there. He might randomly kill himself though,
Smasher.
and that would be kind of annoying. By the way, pumpkin launchers do exceptionally low damage for any rocket launcher, so it's a bad idea to use that for DPS. Yeah, I think one of the biggest things Fortnite actually needs is an epilepsy warning. Oh, did he just pour it out? This boss is teleporting like a cheater. Dude, you can just invert it and you're fine. The boss literally just teleports into your base too. It's very not fair.
60 seconds until shelter online.
Alright, you guys can play with the teddies.
I am a bear. You are not a bear.
Sorry.
So I am very lucky to not suffer from any hugely epileptic issues. As like I've been playing video games for a very long time, and either my brain has gotten used to all the flashing colors and lights and stuff that
Congratulations.
I see, or I just never had any problems with them. I used to have this really bad issue when I was a kid though, where like I'm 32 now. But when I was like somewhere between 8 and 12, I had a really bad issue actually hearing things whenever I was focused on something. Like to the point where somebody could be next to me and like calling my name and I wouldn't hear anything. Yes, I am old as the dirt. Not quite a gaming grandpa, but on my way. Oh, Steam Vents, Quarter Pounder, Summoner Trap. What's another obscure trap? It's not even like super concentrated because it wasn't a situation where I'd achieved flow or anything, which is probably a term that's a little bit more loaded. It's not a situation where I actually knew what was going on, like even in the game. Well, I still have the ability to do it on purpose now, but like I have to tune people out intentionally rather than like it just happening automatically. Hey, what's going on? What's going on, Abhinav? But yeah, like I had situations where like I would just tune out everything, and like that actually wasn't really good for me. So if we had to select 4 obscure traps, then Orcs Must Die. Unchained. We have the Steam Vents, the Quarter Pounder, the Summoner Trap, which would be another one that you guys would think would kind of be off or weird. Yeah, I'm enjoying myself. You know, having lots of very interesting conversations with the chat, collecting some resources in Fortnite. It's a good time. A lot of experience. And some perk up and some drops of rain. It's good stuff. Alright, let's add tripwire. And boulder shoot, and icicle trap, because they're kind of the same. One's just elemental. Alright, good. I just threw that up on the community page on the YouTube channel. So he probably just got online after he got to school. Hey, Tia. I mean, I don't mind looking at anybody's base, but I don't really need anything. Oh, you mean the traps available in Fortnite, Abhinav? There's a pretty solid selection. It's not huge, but I think for the most part, I've had almost everything that exists. Oh, in OMDU. I'm not sure if Abhinav was talking about the traps in Fortnite or the traps available in Orcs. So that probably would need a bit of clarification. But yeah, I've had duplicates of just about everything. I think the only thing that I haven't slotted was a legendary patrol ward, legendary floor launcher, legendary floor spikes, No, the community page is on YouTube. If you visit the actual channel, there's like a link there. Always got to be courteous. Also, the guy that I was playing with is Cody TMV. He's a really chill dude. Streams over on Twitch from time to time. That is his Twitch stream. And he plays Fortnite almost exclusively. There still aren't too many people in the Discord, and I do that on purpose. Like, I don't want to have to manage like 3,000 plus people at the moment. No, I posted the community page link a few moments ago. It should be, let me grab it again. All right. Do you guys see that link? It should be in the chat. That actually would be a good question. Like, how well does not Facebook, YouTube's chat handle like sending links between people? Right, that link specifically to the community page of my YouTube channel though. And there's where you'll find polls and things like that about things that I plan on doing in the future. Sometimes like just small text updates, things that aren't actually videos for the channel. But that's where the poll is for the next stream for OMDU. So you guys get the ability to vote on what's going to be used next on the OMDU stream, which trap we're going to feature, and then we'll run through a bunch of maps using that trap, as well as some others, and see what we can do to make it work. No. I actually don't have a lot of Discord like integration yet, and until I actually get something set up on there where it's not just a bunch of like manually modded rooms, it probably won't be interesting. Yeah, I basically just use it as a way to get in contact with other people that I jump into games with often, which also means there's not that many people on there. I'd be surprised if there's even that many. Nope, there isn't. I just counted. No, it's not hating. It's just not that many people on there. I literally created Discord originally just to make sure that I was able to communicate with people better than like Steam calls, because one of my friends always wanted to speak in person, and Steam calls got to the point where they would literally just be buggy every time we tried to do one. And whenever he called me, either one of us couldn't answer, or when we answered, we just got static. And like he got fed up to the point where I was like, all right, let's give Discord a shot and see if this works. And after a little bit of struggling with that, it actually did. So we kind of kept that as a way to communicate. But I don't know, like maybe look at Nils touting his status of being in the Discord. But that might be something that I decide to do for channel memberships eventually. Like after I tweak the Discord a little bit more, I'll let members in and then, you know, code it so that they have a special channel, and they'll probably get like some custom content that I'm not making for everybody else eventually. But that'll be when I can actually like guarantee that I can deliver that kind of stuff to people, because I don't want people paying me for something that they might not actually get. That wouldn't be cool. It would be interesting to see what I could do as far as getting some extra emotes and stuff though. Right now, I just have this. No, that was just kind of a joke, Nils. Most of the people in there are just people that I played Orcs Must Die with. And a couple, that one friend that always did the Steam calls. Time zones always get in the way. Which servers? You mean the OMD servers? And the gateway? Oh, they may have. Yeah, I think they got rid of the European gateway when they dropped. Can't even remember the name of the company now. There was a separate company that was responsible for the European gateway and orcs, and at some point that company got dropped, probably for financial reasons, but also because they wanted to kind of fold everything in. Well, no, it wasn't like in China. I don't even think they can connect to Orcs Must Die anymore. Like they're just gone. I could be wrong about that, but China, I believe, had their own dedicated servers and version of Orcs Must Die Unchained. They had heroes before us. Like Orcs Must Die Unchained was originally developed specifically for a Chinese audience. Like I'm not sure exactly how many. Yeah, Gameforge was it. I'm not sure how many people actually know that. Probably only some of like the really OG Orcs Must Die folks. But yeah, that's kind of that was the idea behind the development of that game originally. Let me drop out of this party and see if I can go grab some other stuff while I'm still up and playing this. But not really censored, just they had a different version of the game than us, and they had some special promised things, and that's probably a result of Tencent having bought a significant portion of Robot. What'd you think of, Nils? That was actually the next poll that I was working on, but I wanted to get together a list of the games that I wanted to play through, and then we could put some time in it. Like, I actually have like a bunch of indie games that I've already accepted from developers, and then a list of like another 42 that I was offered, that I could just throw up a stream for or start doing videos on at any time. You would personally want to see Papers, Please. Okay, that will go into the poll. I'm pulling up some notes. I'll write these down, and then I'll see if there's any others. I wanted to finish Doom, and I got Doom finished. This sort of a bunch of, like, you know, videos on demand, which was nice. Oh, that's just the list of games that developers offered to me. There's a bunch of games that I have myself. I have somewhere around 300 games just on PC that I probably want to go through at some point. And a buddy of mine actually got me a PS4, which I need to eventually get a capture card for. Sanctum 2 is developed by an independent studio that's now a publisher, so I think that counts. I'm a really big fan of like everything Coffee Stain does, and I think they're actually somewhere around your neck of the woods. Yeah, Coffee Stain is Swedes. They are Swedish. But yeah, why don't we throw those in? I actually have been doing, or I had been. I don't think I've done a new video on the original Sanctum in quite some time, but I was playing through all of the original levels. 25 games? Wow. All right, so I should say, Abhinav, that games were released and played very differently when I was growing up than they are now. Depending on exactly how, like, what era of gaming you guys came in. Originally, games were all extremely short, and a lot of them were trying to emulate what used to be an arcade experience. So short was sort of the ideal, like everything was just a quick play and then you'd move on to something else, which is kind of the space that mobile games are in now, where games don't take really long, but you can do them pretty much anywhere. And that's kind of where the mobile space actually thrives, like weird old arcade style adventures.
Ah, the weather balloon. Nature's spy. Let's bring it in.
But
Let's find the landing site.
the way that things are now, I could probably list like some of the games that I've played, and just due to the fact that I've gone through so many generations of consoles, I can guarantee you I'm over 300 games. Like PlayStation alone, I've probably played like somewhere around 60 titles. And I'm talking about the original PlayStation, the PS1. And man, there were some good games on that. But even beyond that, after you move on from like the arcade era, where like there was a new game released like every few months, and it would be like an update of an old one or a new release, or like, and I'm not even talking about like considering things like the multiple arcade versions of Street Fighter 2, but just like actually different games. Like the history of gaming has like some really cool stuff in it, and that's one of the reasons why I wanted to like I've been interested in video games, not just as like playing them, but in the entire industry ever since I was a kid. And I started playing video games at like 2 years old, by the way, so I've been doing this for like a really long time. Not like on streams or anything, because they didn't exist back then, but still. Oh man, this dude was sleeping in a broken down car. Yeah, when I was 2 years old, I started playing video games. Streaming in the 90s sounds like a freaking... sounds like an Initial D meme. I'm imagining somebody in a car with a dial-up modem hoping to get an internet signal. It's not even how it works. So if you want to know how it's possible, there were arcade machines, and they required that you be a certain height to actually touch the controls. So my mom used to run a general store here, and it was actually opened by my father before he passed away. And the deal was that because you know, the arcade machines required electricity to run for obvious reasons, like everything basically does if it has any sort of screen. But that electricity was part of the building that my mom ran her store in, and the guy that owned the arcade machines wanted a place to put his machines where, you know, they got some foot traffic so he can make some money. So my mom struck a deal with him, said, you know, okay, look, you can put the games in my store. People will come in and play them. And then for the electricity costs and for the cost of you putting the arcade machines here, I will, they will split the coin income from the machines. Like basically half the coins would go to the guy for bringing the machines in, half the coins would go to my mom for the electricity and just making sure that the machines remained unharmed. And you know, that was the deal. So we had arcade machines and like this nice little corner building that we ran the store out of. We'd bring in like 2 to 3 machines at a time depending on how much space we had, and kids from the neighborhood would come in and play them, and it was pretty cool. Mind you, I'm 2 at the time, so like I only find out most of the specifics about the deal after I grow up a bit. But you know, running a general store as people did back then, milk would often be delivered in milk crates, and they still probably use milk crates today. I haven't worked in the supermarket in a while, but I have some very old game buddies and I have some very young game buddies. The good thing about playing video games, I've found, is that like it's become such a universal hobby, much to the chagrin of politicians and a lot of other people, that there are people in huge game ranges, and it's exciting to me because like I'm at the age where a lot of my friends, or at least a significant portion of them, have children, and like just like, you know, family game time used to be families playing board games or like, you know, telling stories and stuff together. Like one of the pastimes that we now get is playing video games with our kids. And like I have a goddaughter basically. One of my friends has a daughter, and he decided to choose me to help him take care of her and like, you know, just guide her as she's growing up. And that was a pretty, you know, special thing. But getting to see her enjoy like electronic entertainment of various types is also cool. And that's not something that like my parents understood. My mom was like really happy to just get me to like read and enjoy myself, but like she didn't really understand video games because she didn't grow up with like any sort of technology. Like my mom was born before computers, so you know, if you can imagine what that's like, her life was very much pencil and paper. Just randomly pick up a legendary? It's interesting. I don't need all of these. But yeah, like there were a lot of older people that I used to play video games with when I was a kid.
Landing site spotted. Nice find.
And there was like a lot of younger people that I would play with too. So it is definitely a very special hobby. Like I can only think of like really older sports where you had situations where that would bridge a generation very significantly. And with video games, I'm surprised that something relatively new as a form of entertainment had caught on so much, and is something that can still be shared with people.
You are not aware.
Any attacks from the storm's creatures could corrupt the data. You'll want to build defenses around the balloon's landing site.
I really can't leave without it.
But yeah, like I played a lot of like really old arcade titles around the time that they actually got released. Abhinav, I would not say that playing Facebook games is embarrassing, and I'm going to tell you why. Facebook games actually are one of the most important aspects of game development in the current century, because it is one of the few times where you had a platform distribute content that didn't originally exist for that purpose. So if you think about like games hitting like mobile or phones, a lot of that came about after the Facebook game era. And that was primarily because a lot of the coding that they were able to do with the advancements in phones and the implementation of applications to run things like Facebook basically had them create compatibilities where they could run the games on the phones. And flash games were basically something very similar for running video games on in web browsers. Like rather than having them as standalone software, which used to be the case. Let's know where the motel is. That's mom's grocery store. That's a mom's. This is a passing gas. May not be on this map. Like web games, like Facebook games were specifically the evolution of web games, and it was a very important one specifically because of that leap that everything made to mobile. Which is why after everybody started making the connection that they could just make all of the games that they were putting on Facebook on mobile and not have Facebook specifically take a chunk of the profits, they started doing so. But I don't think necessarily everything running through Google's Play Store or Apple Store is necessarily the best thing financially for some companies as well. Because I think they take somewhere around 30%. Which is why, if you notice, not Facebook, but Fortnite on phones, if any of you have it, does not have a download from the from any of the stores. It requires a custom installation for Androids. I think with Apple, they just have to go through the Apple Store.
Nope.
But I myself played a bunch of Facebook games when they were like all the rage. I actually played some of the earliest Facebook games, and I cannot tell you how horrible they were. I don't know. Is there a specific sentiment towards video games in India that's different from the US? I know originally the US hated video games. And I can tell you that story if you want to. That one was kind of crazy. And I can bet it's not too different than what you hear about video games nowadays.
Groupies.
Oh, that's another convenience store. No motels here. That's alright. So, back in the mid-80s, I believe. It could be. Doesn't really let me know if people are typing or not. In the chat pop out for YouTube. I don't even think it does that on Twitch. Facebook games are thought of as crappy just because they're not super high tech. But I mean, it's not really like a game isn't necessarily rated based on just its level of technology or graphic fidelity. Like, that's one of the biggest contemporary issues that I have with video games. Like, people believe that if a game's graphics are not like the best graphics that ever existed, that the game itself is somehow subpar. Well, pay to win, yes, is like one of the worst things that could possibly happen. That was something very exploitative that came about because of actually Facebook. Like, I think they started playing around significantly with free-to-play video games and free-to-play economies right around that time, and a lot of sort of predatory practices were picked up, especially by microtransactions aren't inherently bad. I know a lot of people like hate to hear the term, but that's mainly because a lot of people exploit microtransactions. But microtransactions offer a significant amount of people the ability to play games without having to have a huge upfront cost. Like, I'm a big fan of Warframe, and Warframe has existed and subsisted almost entirely on microtransactions from the beginning, which is ridiculous, and at the same time, nobody believed it was possible when they started. Nexon actually had the ability to purchase or to back Warframe and basically absorb most of the income when they started, but they refused to publish them, and because of that, Digital Extremes basically had to start solo. They're now, like, they eventually got bought into by like a large Chinese firm, so they're not wholly self-owned anymore, but at the same time, they're doing like very well for themselves now. Warframe is probably one of the most standout games that ever existed. What are they trying to do here? Everything's coming from out here. This should be easy. Oh, if you ever get the chance, Warframe is an amazing game. Right. The entire mobile economy is based on the arcade system, where you really only got to play by putting money into a machine. And so games were incentivized at that time to be ridiculously hard just so that you'd keep throwing money into it. And that's actually why in the US, at some point, it was decided that they were going to try to completely ban video games. A funny story about a kid's not knowing the value of money. So I mentioned earlier in the stream that my mom used to run that general store, right? And that I was playing games when I was 2. Well, I still had to use quarters. And I was unaware of the fact that, you know, this money was something that I had to acquire through like labor or anything else. And normally my mom would just give me a few quarters to put in the machine. But she used to count the coins at home so that she could roll them up, take them to the bank, and then deposit them. And so, like, one day I wake up and she must have stepped out of the room while she was counting the coins, and like I just wake up to a huge pile of coins in the middle of the bed. Like, because she used to count the coins on the bed that I slept on. So I don't know if you could imagine like maybe something like 20 kilograms of just coins, or if you're in the West, like about 45 pounds of coins just on the bed. And like I knew that the machines took quarters. I didn't know like what money was specifically, but I knew that these were the things that made the machine go. So the first time I realized it, I was like, oh wow, I wonder where all these coins came from. And then it happened another time, and I was like, you know what? Let me take some of these, and then I'll be able to play them. I'll be able to play the game when I go to the store. And this is before I could even go to school. So like we didn't know what money was or anything like that. These were the first time I had seen these coins other than just the quarters that I would put in the machine. So I started gathering a bunch of them, and I would just put them in my pockets after I got dressed, and I would just have a pocket full of quarters. So I go in the store the first time, I have a few of the quarters, and I'm just playing games all day. And my mom's sitting there and she's like, oh, he must be really good because he's been on the game all day, because the games were set up in such a way where if you were good, you just keep playing them because you wouldn't die. But then eventually she started to notice that both the register was coming up short, like where the coins were kept, and also that I would just be playing games all day, every day, and I would just have like a big pile of quarters in my pocket. And this went on for probably close to a week, where I was taking probably somewhere around like $50 to $60 in quarters over the course of the week and just putting them in my pockets to play video games. And she comes in one day and actually sees me picking up the quarters, and like she screams, and like I jump. I'm like, I have no idea what's going on, but like I'm sure it's something bad because of how loud she was. And then she's like, oh, so that's where you've been getting all those quarters from. And then she decides to tell me then that the quarters that I've been spending were coming basically from the store's tills, and that's the money that we needed to actually keep the business running. And I was like, oh, okay, I kind of understood that I shouldn't be taking the quarters.
You are not a bear.
And that was pretty much the end of that story.
You are not a bear.
File successfully retrieved.
No problem. Enjoy your 15, Abhinav.
You are not a bear. You are not a bear. I was a bear. You are not a bear.
But yeah, that is just one of the ways that I learned the value of money.
I was a bear.
Namely, not to take coins that magically appear on your bed.
Another file.
It's probably old enough to realize some of the things that are happening in the world. I wouldn't say it's particularly old, just because for most countries that's still like the age where you're undergoing like, compulsory education. But it's not like, you're a 6-year-old and you don't know how to like ask for things or like speak languages fluently.
You are not a bear.
I mean, by the time I was 15, I was already like working to get clothes and stuff, and also handling most of the finances for my household. Yeah, man, his English is pretty solid.
Have you considered meditation?
Data's looking good.
Protect the fort.
I am a bear.
You're not going to see now. I hope.
Fort's taken on husks. File successfully retrieved.
Tech online.
Oh wow.
Can't. Wish I could.
Oh, Plague Inc. is pretty good.
It is looking good.
I played the free version of it when it was online. I haven't actually got the Steam version that has like more stuff in it yet. But yeah, enjoy yourself. Have a good one. Okay, are these guys on top? Yeah, they are. Wait, what are they fighting?
Data's looking good.
Take this, Stormshield.
Okay, the damage burst is going to be annoying. I am surprised I kept firing that entire time. Jeez.
Another file.
There we go.
You're not even that spooky.
Whoa, tried to heal, but didn't happen.
Ammo.
File successfully retrieved. Look out. Fort's under attack.
Back up.
Did the other guy
Looking
drop?
good.
I guess so.
Take this, Storm Freaks.
File successfully retrieved.
Wish I could.
All weakening is quite annoying.
Tech online.
Another file.
All right.
Perfection. You collected all of the files. Amazing. Praiseworthy job, Commander. So, good job.
But yeah, 30 plus years of playing video games for me.
Survivors and weak points in the storm.
Welcome back, Abhinav. Alright, so I think that's going to be it for most of the Fortnite streaming stuff. Wait, Coffee Stain actually has a video up?
Hi, my name is Jace Valet. If you did not know now, you know your life is different now. Hi, I'm Jace, the community manager here at Coffee Stain Studios, and today we're doing something a little bit different. So,
Coffee Stain put out a video, basically, that is a Q&A of, are they making Sanctum 3? Well, I think part of the charm of Plague Inc. is just that when you play a different type of pathogen, even the fictional ones created, like Christmas, it's about overcoming the challenges that they have to actually be able to thrive or infect people, and learning which vectors work best at different times and things like that. Which is why, you know, part of why I think it's a really interesting experience. So that's right. That's what it is. Plague Inc. is a mobile game. If you guys are interested in it at all, the game that we're discussing is this guy here. Well, I mean, that's also another thing. Like, just being in a gaming environment can offer you access to other things, like different languages. But let me actually pull up the note that I was working on and see here. I know one thing that I was doing a few days ago was working on activating all of the various games that I have so that they would be in a list. And then what else did I have? That is a lot of games. That's really interesting. So I have a bunch of relatively new games that have popped up for just streaming or doing whatever I want to get the show off to you guys. And I want to be able to actually get that out there. So I think I will set up a poll again on the community page on the YouTube channel just to see what we want to set up as far as a non like Fortnite stream, something else that's sort of planned rather than just me spontaneously jumping online and going, hey, I'm streaming. So if you guys have any recommendations that you ever want to throw out, whether it's a game that you've already seen me play that you want to see me play more often, or just something new, feel free to let me know what that is. And I'll probably throw in some choices on the poll and then maybe add like a sort of wild card option that'll let me pick whatever I feel like at the time. And we'll see what's going from there. What's going on. But for now, I am going to go ahead and end the stream. It's about 4 a.m. for me, and so I need to get some rest so I can be ready for work tomorrow. Otherwise, I want to thank you guys for coming out to the stream. Like, it's been great just chatting with you guys. Like, this is probably some of the most fun that I've had in the morning in a really long time. But yeah, just it was great having you here, and I look forward to speaking with you guys in the future, and hopefully we can have some more fun then. Either way, take care of yourselves, have a good day, and as always, have a good one, folks.